Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Dr. Mirage, number 1. Quick thank you to all the subscribers. If you're new to the channel, please hit like and subscribe. And I really enjoy comments. I like discussing comics. That's kind of why I do this, is to build a sense of community with you guys. So please, you got any feedback? You want to say you hate my voice, then just say that. Otherwise, let's jump into another book from 1993, another one of the top sellers. Got another Valiant book. Valiant's still going strong. This is a little later in the year. It has a November cover date. I remember this coming out in the summer, so that would probably put it around August, maybe late July or August that it actually came out. This was a big deal book. It wasn't quite as big as, like, say, Turok number 1 that came out the same year. It was the number 123rd top selling book. So in the top half of the top 300 for the year. I remember this being kind of like a big push too at the time. The Wizard magazine competitor, Hero Illustrated, I think their first issue, if I'm not mistaken, started with essentially the same cover, but they did it like foily and stuff. If I'm not mistaken, it was the same. It was definitely a Dr. Mirage cover. I feel like it was the same art even. Pretty interesting cover in general. It's actually called The Second Life of Dr. Mirage, and I don't remember if that's like the official name of the title or if it was just Dr. Mirage. Master Dark was a cool villain in the Valiant universe, mostly showing up in the Shadow Man series, but at this point they were really starting to establish and push him as kind of being a Doctor Doom level villain of Valiant at the time. Of course, he wasn't Dr. Doom necessarily. I'm just saying, like, of that same presence of, like, being in everything, kind of being behind a lot of things, showing up across the board. Like I said, mostly coming out of Shadow Man with the voodoo stuff. We'll see why in a minute. But definitely a big player villain in the Valiant universe. I like this cover a lot. You see this character jumping out, kind of an interesting design here, which is a funny choice as we get into like why he's dressed this way. She looks like she's tied up right here because of these black stripes on her outfit, but as it turns out, that's just the pattern of her clothes. Jump right in. I don't remember if this was the first appearance of this character or if he had appeared in a book before. He probably had appeared in Shadow Man or something. Maybe I should have looked that up before I jumped into this, but I read it. I was like, let me just go ahead and make my video, and I'll figure out the details later. So we, at least in this issue, we meet Dr. Mirage, whose name is Wynn, and his wife, and her name is Carmen Reyes, but it's his wife, and they are paranormal. What does he say? Like paraphysiologist, actually. Paraphysiologist. So he's here to look at some bodies in the morgue that have some odd circumstances of their death. They establish in here too that he's gooey. He's afraid of gooey things. He doesn't like gooey stuff. So these bodies, so like even here, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna look at the body. You can see his face there. He doesn't like it. His wife is kind of the tough guy of the group. He's the scientist, the kind of soft-hearted scientist, and she's an engineer too, and his assistant. But she's also kind of the tough guy, as we'll move along and see. So they're looking at these bodies and doing some work. Now we cut back to Master Dark. Most of the time he's sitting around naked, but here he has a suit on. We've got his ghostly sister, and they have kind of like I think there was, if I recall, there was some kind of bond where she was kind of against him in a way, and he was against her, but they had like some kind of like bond that they couldn't really do anything to each other except try to undermine each other at the same time. So, and he's talking here about finding the original geomancer who wrote the Book of the Geomancers. And again, that's something from the Valiant universe. Geomancers were established, I believe, in Eternal Warrior, maybe discussed a little bit in Archer and Armstrong as well. And then we also run across geomancers. There is one particular one that played a big part in the Unity crossover, and there's one established in the future books with Rai and the Future Force. Anyway, and those characters have like a connection to the Earth, and there's only one at a time, like one in a generation, and they basically would pass their powers along. So he's looking for the original one, the remains of the original one, which will give him some kind of ultimate power. Back in the lab, we see Dr. Mirage, who's apparently a Miami Heat fan, and him and his wife are working together. She goes out for a run. That's why she's wearing this stuff in the lab. She's like helping him set something up. She's like, I'm going to go for a run. So he's working on this experiment by himself. He blasts the gooey stuff from one of these guys with some kind of ray, which sets off like essentially a signal that Master Dark gets. And Master Dark's like, whoa, somebody's playing with the necromancer magics. That's my power. They can't be doing that. So I'm going to take care of it by animating the corpses to come after him. And he doesn't, like, they don't come back to life. He is just controlling them. So they demonstrate that here because he's speaking and it's like coming out of their mouths. And this guy, who's already squeamish about even dealing with these dead bodies, although he's really into like paranormal stuff and like necromancy, I guess, or necro energy, as he says. That's been his life's work, but he's squeamish around stuff like this. These like essentially zombies. Now, they're not the zombies that bite you and turn you into a zombie. They're just coming to get him. And I don't know if there was any story that established these guys before and why they are dead, but they must have been killed with something that he was getting this magic off of, or this energy off of. His wife comes back, and we see that she's an ass kicker. Not only is she like tall and beautiful, and the non-squeamish one around this stuff, but she's also learned some kind of martial arts, and she's like taking them out. Kicks one into, well, he has no legs and is missing an arm even. Kicks him into a bookshelf. One of them gets back up. She's like, whoa, I already broke his neck. And, he's like, no, they're already dead. You can't kill them. But he remembers that the ray that he shot the tissue with before made it inert and turned it into just normal dead tissue. So they crank up she's fighting him off while he cranks up that same ray to like hit the whole room and makes them inert again. Sister's like, oh, brother, you were defeated. Why are you smiling? And he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going after the geomancer energy, and ultimately I'm going to have the most power anyway. She's like, oh, but you may get more than you bargained for, brother. So she's kind of hinting like she knows, she kind of has some like precognition, I believe. I don't remember much about her other than, when I read this, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about his sister. So, but she has some kind of precognition because we'll meet her again in just a minute. So they go off and they decide they're going to look for Master Dark. He says he's going off to go find the geomancer body. Pretty cool pin up here. This may be the hero illustrated image that they use instead of the actual cover to number 1. I mean, it's basically the same thing. You're missing his wife over to the side. It's at a little different angle. I want to talk about his costume here for a second. I probably had a little memory of this, but when we get to it, but like when I was looking at this, I was like, man, he's wearing like snow boots there, or ski boots. And I was like, I wonder if that was like a design choice because like, I think it's Bernard Chang is doing the art on this. And I was like, I wonder if that was like a choice because he just liked the design of the boots. Maybe he had some ski boots that looked like that and he liked it. And I was like, actually, he's kind of wearing like a windbreaker ski jacket too. Now this leotard thing with this crotch torso piece isn't very ski suit like. And neither necessarily is the headgear with the open hair headgear thing. I was like, it's very inspired by some ski stuff. I was like, I couldn't remember as I was reading it, like if this is how he appears when he comes back for his second life, or if this was something he chose to wear. Well, spoiler, it's something he chose to wear. And that's why he's wearing it in his afterlife appearance. And I guess he's stuck in this outfit for eternity. They're in the bathtub. He's like, looking at his notes and stuff, and basically saying, we got to go after Master Dark. And then they're in New Orleans, going to Master Dark's mansion, which this takes a lot of guts. Master Dark animated corpses from New Orleans to, I believe, New York. Yeah, New York City is where they were with the dead bodies, even though he's a Miami Heat fan. He animated some corpse from New Orleans to New York, and they're like, let's go knock on his front door. I'm sure he'll understand. He'll realize we're not a threat. We'll just chit-chat with him. It'll all work out. The guy animated a corpse to attack him, and they just go knock on his door. Not guns blazing. They're just going to have a chat. But they're like, nobody's home. Okay, let's go around back. Let's check out the back door. So this squeamish guy who can't, was squeamish to take a tissue sample off of the dead bodies in a field he works in. It's like, yeah, let's just walk around back and see what's going on. And that's where they see the sister who's like floating, like an apparition floating above. And she's like, he's not here. He went to Tibet. Your journey to Tibet is your destiny awaits there. He journeyed to Tibet. Your journey awaits there. So she's saying, like, you need to go there. And then she, like, kind of fades away. So this is pretty fast-paced storytelling. I'll give it that. But there's, like, gaps in it. It's like, so I guess she just fades away. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And they even question it. The wife is like, are you sure we should be doing this? We go to see this guy who animated dead corpse. We go to his house. There's some lady in her pajamas out there floating around. Telling us to go there, and we just hop on a plane and go. And he's like, yeah, we got to see this thing through. So they go to Tibet, and Master Dark's already there, and he's going to this like temple where the remains of the geomancer right here, the original geomancer who wrote the book of the geomancer, are. And along the way, he kills all these monks with his dark power. And here we go. Here's his outfit. And hers too. See, it's like got these like bands around it, which is a neat design for the outfit, but it definitely, when she was standing next to the pole on the cover like that, it looks like she's tied up. And like the way her one arm is kind of going back, but it gets lost in the skulls. Her hand is right there, but it looks like it's like back behind her. And this arm is kind of getting lost in the stripes and stuff. And the elbow going like kind of the edge there. To me, it looks like she's tied up initially because she's standing next to that post, but she's not. He's wearing his choice of ski garb, and it is definitely a choice. The boots, the jacket kind of makes sense. The headgear, it's keeping his ears warm. The cod piece is a little questionable. This piece is a little questionable. All right, so now they're going to go ahead and confront. Well, they walk in and all these monks are dead. And immediately their first reaction is the smart one, which is to leave. But then again, kind of like going around the side of the house, he's like, nope, we've come this far. We got to go the rest of the way. Their guide is like, forget that. I'm not with you on that. So they go confront Master Dark here. This is how I mostly think of Master Dark in his floating, meditating, nude, tattooed state like that. They go to confront him. He knows that they're there. Addresses them by name, and he's like, and finally I reached the end of that trail, and there you sit, a murderer. What was this here? My whole life I've searched for the secrets of necromancy. I devoted myself to that quest from a scientific approach. He's devoted himself to necromancy. It's an interesting line of work for someone. I guess his motivations were just to bring people back from death. I don't know what his motivations were for studying necromancy, but he's a soft-hearted dude. He wasn't looking for power like Master Dark here. And Master Dark is essentially like, whatever, you are no threat to me. I'm going to take your energy. And he doesn't kill him in the same way he kills the monks, where he leaves a body behind. He like sucks his energy up and makes him like completely disappear. And then I guess absorbs him back into himself somehow. This is a pretty cool scene right here with the energies kind of, swirling around him, going into his body. Like, are they going in or coming out or both at the same time? Neat little blip. Anyway, so then Master Dark goes back to his... Okay, so no, he's like, it's over. I guess he didn't suck him up to him then. And he's basically saying, like, I'm going to keep you around because you're hot. Because he says, I have other needs that you... So the energy releases from Master Dark, and we get Dr. Mirage coming right back out. Or he was coming back because she was saying, like, use your willpower, your love, blah, 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 to come back. And I guess he does. And he comes back out. Master Dark is, I guess it's just such a drain on him. He's actually kind of been taken out. Kind of looking at his skeletal figure there. I guess he must be a eunuch. Nothing there. It's like there's strategic energy going across. And then there, the way he's laying. It's kind of odd. He's pretty skeletal anyway. Anyway, so she's like, you came back to me after all. And then it turns out he's kind of like ghostly. And that sets it up for, what's going on. Pretty decent origin issue. You don't really see what his powers are going to be, but it gets you to the point of where you're going to have this like ghost character. He was like a paraphysiologist, and now he himself is paranormal. So it set up a pretty good series. And like I said, this came out towards the end of the year for Valiant. And I remember getting this series, at least for the first 4 or 5 issues. I don't remember how it goes from here. He also appears in the, what's it called? Their version of the Avengers, the Secret something. So they were kind of building him up to be like a major player in the Valiant universe, but this is towards the end of 93. We're already starting to see that little bit of bleed happening. People that were all in for Turok, they were all in for Exo Manowar, Chromium Zero. Now they're starting to kind of fade off a little bit. This still sold a lot. You can find this first issue pretty easily in the 50-cent dollar bins, but I mean, we went from Turok being one of the top 5 books of the year to this being the number 123rd book of debuting this character in his own series. You can see the drop off. The interest in new Valiant is already starting to wane a little bit. I think Ninjak came out around the same time too, or maybe a couple months later, and it had a little bit more buzz. Definitely seeing the Valiant drop off already starting, and by 94 things just start going really south. But anyway, it's a pretty good read, I would say. I might try to pick up the next couple issues to see where the story goes, if I can find them in those dollar bins. Just because I like the Master Dark character as a villain, so seeing where this went, because I don't remember, would be kind of interesting and fascinating to me. So it's definitely something I'm going to keep a lookout for as I'm, kind of digging and randomly pulling stuff out. That's all I got. Until next time, read your comics.